Nick Wright, co-host First Things First, is joining us. You know, I was watching. It's interesting. I was watching the Bill Simmons Celtic City last night, and we were in this. I generally wouldn't lead with this, but it makes me think. It was really good, and I said every league has an unavoidable problem. Baseball has no urgency. Most of us didn't play hockey. NFL's got violence and people get seriously hurt, and the NBA's is. The Celtics were terrible. They got Larry Bird. They were great. Like in the NBA, one guy. Now in the NFL, that's true too, but you don't see Mahomes by the time he's 14. In basketball, Luka, Wemby, LeBron, they're 14 years old. You're like, yep, you can plan for it. I do think the NBA's trying to manipulate load management down, and most of the young players, Tatum, SGA, they like to play. I don't think you can avoid tanking. I think it's the league's unavoidable problem. What say you?
So that's interesting. The problem with fixing tanking is every realistic fix has a butterfly effect that could cause an equal or greater problem. So some people have argued, you know what you should do? Instead of having a lottery, have a March Madness-style single elimination tournament of the non-playoff teams, and the winner of that gets the number one pick. But the problem with it, which sounds great on its face, like, oh, that would be fun, it'd be more inventory, whatever. The problem with that is the moment that happens, there would be an actual playoff-level team that's like, you know what we should do? Miss the playoffs entirely so we can win this tournament and get Cooper Flag. So that won't work. They have flattened the odds to prevent teams from wanting to have the single worst record. What that ended up creating was teams were like, well, if the number one worst record is not as valuable as it once was, that by default makes having the sixth or the seventh worst record more valuable than it was previously. So there is not a pure, clean fix, except for severely financially penalizing ownership. Like, that would be the fix. The fix would be the way that they can, that they enforce other rules, which is real financial penalties for teams. The league hit, who did they hit recently? Utah, I think?
Yeah.
They hit somebody with a $100,000 fine. And I'm sure the Jazz were like, have you seen, with respect, the Sixers the last 3 weeks? Where's their fine? Like, have you seen these other teams? And so, no, I don't, and here's the other thing. I don't actually think fans have a huge problem. When you're talking about issues with the NBA, I don't think tanking is high on the fans' list. I think good teams whose good players rest load management, I think that is a far greater fan concern than the bad teams throwing games at the end of the year.
So
I don't know why your producers, I don't know why your producers just showed LeBron James, the man who's played more minutes in games than anyone in NBA history. When I said load management, he's the face of anti-load management, but go ahead. Bad job by the bad.
How about this one? I'm going to throw another one at you. So Bronny last night scored 39 points against the El Paso Donuts, or whatever they're called. Whatever, who cares?
Oh, don't do that.
Okay.
Don't do that,
all right.
Colin.
Anyway.
Don't do that.
Okay. Against the El Segundo Knights. I don't know who they played.
Against the team on his schedule.
Okay.
With equivalent players.
Okay. So my take is, because of his the situation he had in college with kind of a life-threatening situation, is he's going to be...
His heart stopped.
Yeah, his heart stopped. So what he's going to be is a late bloomer, semi-late bloomer. You just got to, write off 18 months of his development. It may be starting right about now. So I saw that last night, and I thought, okay, I want to say something nice about it. I want to ask Nick about it, because it is something. 39 points in any league is a lot of points. But as I saw that, I thought to myself, okay, maybe he's a late bloomer. I still think he feels like, as a 6'2" non-point guard, a rotational player.
Of course.
Is that fair?
Of course. But that makes him, you know what a rotational player is? A top 5% outcome for all second-round picks in NBA history. If he is a rotational player, it will end up being one of the best 2 or 3 picks of the entire second round of his draft, which is why the criticism of the pick, which is why, folks, when he had a bad 10 minutes against the Sixers, going on and begging LeBron as a father to put an end to this farce and treating Bronny like he was a make-a-wish prospect, was wildly unfair. The facts are as follows. He was a legitimately excellent high school player who in the summer going into his freshman year of college suffered cardiac arrest due to congenital heart failure. That then made it to where they thought for a moment he might not ever be able to play sports again, and he had to, for the first time in his entire life, go months without working out, without playing ball. That led to a very poor freshman year of college. All of that is the record of what happened. He then, after being drafted, was rough in the summer league and rough at the very beginning of the G League. But now that he's 18 months removed from the cardiac arrest, what we have is a player who is one of the younger players in the whole G League.
He is,
one of only 5 guys 20 or younger, averaging 20-plus points per game in the G League, averaging 22, 5, and 5 on 46, 38, 80 splits, and a couple weeks ago got, because of the situation the Lakers were in injury-wise, real NBA burn and looked totally fine. And so my issue was twofold with the Bronny discourse. The first part of it was I thought everyone had totally just memory hold that he suffered a major medical event, and that I think he would have been better off in the public's eye if he simply sat out his freshman year rather than rushing back and averaging 4 points per game. That was the first issue I had. The second issue I had was this idea that it was a reckless use of the third to last pick of the draft when, if I were running an NBA team and LeBron was retired for a decade, and it's like, hey, who's on our board? And they're like, oh, tell me about this kid from USC. And they're like, oh, as it happens, you know, his father's literally the greatest raw athlete in the history of the country. He has no character concerns whatsoever. He's a little undersized. We have questions about his shooting, but his character, IQ, and genes are 10 out of 10. Yeah, I'd take a flyer on him. It was a totally reasonable pick, and he is now exceeding any reasonable expectations. And so I'm not talking about you here, Colin. I thought some folks who always like to take shots at LeBron used Bronny as a vehicle to get to LeBron, and I thought that was shameful. And I will add one other point to this. LeBron put extra pressure on him by confronting Stephen A. That's not why he did it, but that is because LeBron, what he did, there was a bigger spotlight on Bronny in the days that followed. And I think it's really impressive that he has played his best basketball since that moment with higher scrutiny on it.
So we don't talk a lot of college basketball, but I had a take yesterday that I actually think sometimes culturally you benefit from big change. Sometimes you're a victim of it. And college basketball had a pretty bleak last 15 years. The G League did not help, but I also think it didn't necessarily help the NBA because I think players are better going to college where, I mean, you can take $400,000.
Getting marketed.
Yeah, I mean, like you can take $400,000 at the G League or $22 million of free advertising at North Carolina for your likeness. I would go to college for a year and, by the way, get taken care of, like, because all kids do to some degree. So my take is actually the NIL is great for college basketball. It'll keep a Zach Edey in for one more year because you can pay him some money. And secondly, these teams that have a hole, they don't have to get a high school guy. Let's just go get like Marshall's mid-majors NBA guy. And I think it's great for the sport that there's no Cinderellas because it was mostly mythology anyway, and the big brands are better and the ratings are up.
All right, so this is one of your less popular but more accurate takes. Also, to be fair, it is not lost on me that you are at your peak interest in college basketball simultaneous with you having, what do you have, 15 of the 16 Sweet 16 alive? What, I mean, is that what it is? Like, all of a sudden, you're really into this tournament. I don't blame you, buddy. That's hell of a run. Broussard has 11 of 16. He won't shut up about it. You got 15 of 16. I'm impressed. So a couple things. One is this. I don't like folks acting as if a one-year event is evidence of, oh, this is how it's going to be. Like, folks like there's no mid-majors in the Sweet 16. Well, first of all, that is a streak of one tournament. And second of all, even this tournament, if not for a literal buzzer beater by Maryland, we would have a mid-major in the Sweet 16. So I think the total death of Cinderella is being stated prematurely. But your take, for as long as I've remembered listening to you, and that's, I mean, I'm much, much, much younger than you. So let's talk about when I'm a little kid. You've always had the take that big upsets early create a worse tournament late.
Yes.
And so you can pick and choose. Do you want an amazing, exciting first weekend and then a not so great second weekend, or a chalky first weekend and then what should be an unreal second weekend?
Yeah.
And that's what I feel we got.
Yes.
You look at these point spreads, every game is a 6.5-point line or smaller, except for two, and those two games are 7.5 and 9.5. The only double-digit seed we have is coached by John Calipari, and it's Arkansas. Like almost every team remaining has a plausible path of creating a really good game.
Yeah.
And I didn't think last weekend was bad at all.
Yeah.
And I thought the games were good. I understand that it's fun when there is a 15 seed or a 14 seed that makes some noise, but you kind of want that noise to crescendo with a great round 2 loss rather than them getting whacked in the Sweet 16 by a great team. So I agree with you on this, and I think Thursday through Sunday, there's going to be 12 games. I think we probably are going to get 9 awesome ones, and that's a rarity for the Sweet 16 and Elite 8, so I'm excited for it.
So I said this is a rare take by me, that I said, actually, and I've always felt this. I used to say this about Phil Jackson, when he would criticize the refs and go, I can't believe, I'm like, you're too smart to act dumb. Right? Like Belichick, you're too smart to pretend Spygate caught you off guard. Like, you're too smart. And I kind of look at Aaron Rodgers. He's too smart to really sign with a bad fit. And Pittsburgh, that can't get their own line right, spends all their money on defense, has 2 needy, combustible receivers. It sounds good. It's a bad fit. And Aaron knows it's a bad fit, but he wants to be respectful to a guy he loves, Tomlin. That Aaron is sitting there thinking, the Niners don't want to pay Brock Purdy $60 million, and his agent keeps saying that's what they want, and he is just going to wait till the draft is over? Because if Kirk Cousins would have waited last year until the draft's over, he would have had a better fit. And Aaron's like, 59 quarterbacks played last year. What's the hurry signing? Somebody's going to be desperate in 7 weeks, and he's waiting for the Niners if they don't sign Purdy. Am I nuts? Why is he waiting?
So here's the thing, man. What you're saying, I wish I could agree with. But you're saying, why is he waiting? And the answer is, well, let's think about because I believe Aaron Rodgers is going to be a Pittsburgh Steeler. I think the Steelers know it. I think Aaron knows it. So then the question is, what is gained by waiting? And the answer is, well, one thing that could be gained is just raw, unadulterated ego. I am still, free agency's done for everyone else. I am the hot topic. I am being discussed. That tracks with what I know of Aaron a bit, so that's a possibility. The second reason, and I think this is the most likely, is this is how you shift power in a relationship. Like, neither you nor I have been single for a very, very long time, but I'm sure a lot of the viewers are, and everyone knows that if you are the person saying, hey, will you go out with me? Will you go out with me? Will you go out with me? Wait, I don't know. And then when that person finally says yes, and you have been waiting and waiting and waiting, that person has the power. So if Aaron was worried about, if I go to Pittsburgh, am I going to have full run of the place like I did with the Jets? One way to ensure you will is to prove how valuable you are before you even get there, because they will wait, they will host you, you'll leave, and then they'll still wait. And the last one is off-season, activities are starting up here in a month, and maybe he doesn't want to do them. I think he knows the only place he's going to play football this year is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Florio postulated that he's trying to make some grand announcement at a live show in Pittsburgh in a couple weeks. Maybe. But I think Aaron has known it's Pittsburgh for a long time. I think the Steelers have mostly known, and he's dragging this out because he can and because it serves Aaron Rodgers. I love your idea that he could parachute in to a better team or a better situation, but I think most of those better teams are not as desperate, and I think they are better run from an offensive standpoint to where they wouldn't say, yeah, we'll sign up for the 41-year-old who hasn't been good in 4 years. And so I think it's the Steelers, and I think he's just making everybody wait because he can.
All right. I got a couple more questions. I'm going to do it tonight when we do our own thing. Okay, we got to,
Oh, I thought, I know, because I'm on a hard 15-minute limit. I'm no Bill Simmons. I can't get 26 minutes with you. No, I get it. You and I will talk later. You save those extended segments for the big guests. Not the loyal guy for the last 8 years. Talk to you later, Colin.